triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Battle for freedom. Hello, everyone. This is Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo50 Radio. Glad that you are joining me today. Let's get this day started off on the right foot. Remember, I can't start my day off if I'm not talking to you about American Pride Roasters coffee. And, you know, I have my perfect mug for this. I've got my official Uncle Tom mug for my American Pride Roasters coffee to have during the day. And just throughout the day, American Pride Roasters coffee is the official coffee of Mojo50 Radio. Go to AmericanPrideRoasters.com and hopefully you'll decide to get yourself a blend like the Watson's White Chocolate Caramel. Yes, all that goodness, all that deliciousness in one cup, in one bag at AmericanPrideRoasters.com. Go and check them out today. Trust me, it'll be towards your advantage as we do this. My website, Battle4Freedom.com. I also want you to do me a favor, as I want you to also go to Mojo50.com. This is how I'm able to speak to you and many other different hosts. I want you to click the share button. I want you to click the share button. I want you to click the donate button. I want you to click the shop button. I also want you to do me a favor. I want you to also click there's an open mic button. And with the open mic, what's really cool about this, I'm going to show this to you because we've been talking about this for a while now. On the open mic option is on Sundays from 12 to 4. Many different shows get a chance, or many different new potential shows that are out there are going to share with you their content from their perspective. That's what I like about Mojo50 Radio, is that it's a free speech network and it has a wide variety of different voices and mentalities and personalities that can really wreck your day. So what I can do is I can encourage you to continue to go to Mojo50. And what's really nice is when you go to open mic, one of the things that you'll see on this list is you'll see the different shows like Ain't You a Peach that starts at 12, Room 13 that starts at 1. You see Tramping Through History that starts at 2, as well as Damn It Beaver that starts at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You want to follow this. You want to follow through with this because of the fact that you can just learn the new shows and new personalities that'll be available to you. Today, really what I want to do with you on this day is really get into this whole idea of the strong tilt, pinging American reality. And as we sit here watching the news, and there's so much that's going on between the Biden emails, between Trump and COVID-19 and so many other different things, it seems like, when I say, the strong tilt, how many of you grew up in the generation where you had those old school, ping pong machines or those games, and you played in the arcade game, and if you basically sat there and you tried to lean the machine to a particular side, it would tilt. You would get messed up in trying to continue to play the game. Well, as we try and navigate this thing called life in America, it constantly seems like we're in a constant tilt that we're affected with when we're watching the level of mentalities that affect every last one of us, when we're watching what's unfolding in front of our faces, and we have no idea as to why it happens the way it does. Well, there's a tilt. You either lean left, you either lean right, you lean Democrat, you lean Republican, you lean conservative or liberal, or there's always a tilt in whatever the way that you decide that you want to go. And this is the last week. I want to go back to something as I was sitting there talking to you about the whole idea of the open mic. Thank you, Raquel. She's one of the voices. She is on the Room 13 broadcast. This is the last week to make, for the October round on the shows that you can hear. So, and you get a chance when you go to open mic, you can vote. You can vote on the shows that you like and which ones you think that you would like to hear more often on Mojo50 Radio Network. So thank you for the reminder on that, Rocky. And, just the whole idea. And if you want to interact, she chose, like so many other different people, to go to facebook.com/Mojo50 Radio and leave comments there. If I can pick it up and see them in enough time, I'll try and address that. But back to this whole idea of the tilt of what's affecting America. It's really sad. The first story I want to talk about, and this is kind of sad. Um, is a story about a young man, and I actually, honestly, to tell you the truth, I think their family might be of Haitian descent. I kind of feel or see the Haitianness in this young boy, but 13 years old, who plummeted 20 floors to his death from a Manhattan apartment as cops investigate possible suicide after finding cryptic messages on his computer. Matthew Pierre. His mother is Jerry Sneed Pierre, confirmed her son's death. He was found shirtless on the ground early Monday morning. He fell from outside Manhattan Plaza apartment complex on West 43rd Street. 13-year-old was the first thought to have been doing homework on the terrace. He fell from the family's 20th floor unit at around 7 a.m. This is kind of sad. They said that the paper reported that it could be a suicide because there was a cryptic message on his computer. And it's horrific because of the fact that we don't know the nature. And I guess as more time comes through, we'll learn a little bit more about his story and find out what was going on. But life has to be extreme. If this was a suicide, life has to be truly extreme where you're going to go out like that. And it's rather unfortunate that it would have to, it's heartbreaking, and it's really challenging. So if you can, please keep the Pierre family in your prayers, and not only the Pierre family. Here's another one, so here I am, I've been doing radio now officially 6 years, 6 years at the end of last month. And, one of the things that's really cool about radio is that there are different personalities. There are different people that you get a chance to listen to, hear. Sometimes we might even want to repeat what we see from the people that we hear, And so the latest news is with, I don't know if those of you follow with
at some point we could decide, this medication may be working, but I hate the way I feel every day. This is just, I'm not there yet. But it is part and parcel of this. It's tough to realize that the days where I do not think I'm under a death sentence are over. Now, we all are, is the point. We all know that we're going to die at some point, but when you have a terminal disease diagnosis that has a time frame to it, then that puts a different
Yes, it puts a different, and as you sit here and he kind of closes off with that, it has to be, something that chokes you up. It has to be something that really affects you. One of my good friends, he lost his father early this Sunday morning. I have another friend who is in the throes of stage 4 cancer. Rush Limbaugh is dealing with this. Alex Trebek is dealing with this. So many different, and I'm sure that you have people in your family who's dealing with this. And sometimes we allow the tilts to distract us from those pains and those things that are really close and dear to us. And sometimes I think this year, this COVID time, God's trying to slow us down and say, you know what, appreciate what you have. Appreciate what you have and stop messing around. I think that far too often we allow ourselves to get distracted. And in the process of getting distracted, we leave behind the people that really matter more than anything else that you ever could imagine. And I think it's time for us to wake up, stop playing these games, and appreciate the blessings that have been sent to us. So, as I'm sitting here and I'm watching this thing, it was just not only about the sadness about Rush, and prayers to Rush, and those. I know many of you may think, well, he just leaned too far to the right, and I don't care for him. And well, yeah, maybe he was too far right in terms of his conservatism, but at least he was a voice when no one else was doing this. When he comes in onto the play, I remember even walking in New York and seeing his picture up on the different billboards around Manhattan when I was walking to work or going to and back from work. When I work in Manhattan, I'm like, who is this crazy guy and what is he saying? And does it really even matter? Or why does he sound so crazy or upset all the time? But Rush Limbaugh, he set the paveway for people like me and so many other different voices, like you see, like I talk about here on Mojo 50 Radio. And so I know many of you may not care for him. I know many of you may not want to hear what he has to say, but understand this and appreciate this. A lot of us have a chance to speak. A lot of us have a desire to want to share him out with as many people as we possibly can because of the impact that he has made in our lives. And I'm sure that the moment he goes, there's going to be a huge vacuum, and all the piranha all the piranha will be sitting there going in it as best as they can to try and see if they can take in the mantle of what Rush Limbaugh had offered, and just the route that he provided because of his unique set of skills. So let's get into some of the other stuff that really has been tilting America. And there's no way that I can actually sit here and talk about this without getting into the Biden stuff here. So now, as more and more information comes out, documents acquired by Fox News appear to show Hunter Biden's signature on an $85 receipt for repair of laptops left at Delaware store at the center of an email scandal, while other papers reveal the FBI's contact with the owner. See, and as more and more stuff has come out, and I was listening to the Daily Mojo yesterday, and they were talking about this, is that, Donald Trump was obligated to denounce white supremacy. Daily Mojo comes on Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And they were talking about the whole idea that Donald Trump was under the obligation, according to the media and to the left, to denounce white supremacy. And immediately, no pauses, denounce it, put an end to it once and for all, and once again, and once again. There is no response from the Biden campaign. The Biden campaign is completely silent. And you know who's also silent? A lot of my friends and family members who are so hell-bent on Russian collusion and Ukraine domination and quid pro quo. All those people who are so happy to sit there and say, yes, most definitely Donald Trump is guilty of Russian collusion, and he's got the power to sway the media and sway the news and deflect the information from him. So how do we handle this thing now with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden with unequivocal evidence that proves that both the Democrat nominee for the President of the United States of America and his son were in cahoots with China, that Joe Biden's supposedly tough on, with Ukraine, and also with Russia, and many more things to come? Well, I'm sure you're going to find some reason not to hold up to that glorious standard that you wanted to hold Donald Trump to, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I'll let you deal with God. I'll let you deal with God on that whole aspect there. But I sit here and I talk about this tilt because of the fact that it slants right, it slants left, and it's just insane, because we need to listen. We need to pay attention. We need to stay focused. There's a lot of distractions out there right now, folks. There's a lot of different, and especially when the media goes out of their way to silence the information about Joe Biden, about Hunter Biden. When you go out of your way to shut down the truth that's out there. Orange man bad is all that matters. Orange man bad is all that matters. And again, I told you, I posted on my article, posted on my website yesterday for yesterday's broadcast, the article from the Business Insider of the individual who basically said, I know Kamala Harris's record. I know Joe Biden's record. It's horrendous. However, I'm still going to vote for Biden because I can't stand Trump. So you know the corruption of Biden and Harris and so many more. Where's your evidence of corruption for Trump? None. And it's very sad because of the fact that people don't want to believe the truth. Talking about also just the idea of a bias. See, in 2004, when I voted, I'm admitting this. when I voted for George Bush in 2004, one of the things that really bothered me, and this is what really started stirring in me the desire to start blogging and start talking more about politics and get into, because, before then I was like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to waste my time with this stuff here. But one of the things that I found was during 2004, Bush v. Kerry, that I watched MSN, CNN, CBS, CBS, all the major networks. That 98% of the negativity was towards George Bush. Everybody's like, oh well, they came out against Fox and the Swift boat veterans. One network against 17 networks. One network against 17 networks. Now, yes, Fox said that they were fair and balanced. They removed that because of the fact that they lean so far to the right. But this whole idea of that Fox, and it's interesting, the level of villainy that's ascribed to Fox, that somehow, some way, that one network can actually shut down the effectiveness and the quote-unquote truth of CNN, BBC, NPR, MSNBC or MSDNC, and so many different more. I mean, it's tilted so badly, and now the censorship that's taking place is so horrific that you literally have to be deaf, blind, and mute not to recognize what's happening as the censorship is taking place to hide the reality of the corruption of said Joe Biden and his son and family, Clintons, Obamas, and so much more. But it's being verified. You can't hide this. You can't hide this. Whatever's done in dark is going to be revealed. It's a warning for all of us. For myself, for you, I don't even want to put this link up there on my website, but even for people who think that they can carry on in sexual indecency in the middle of a Zoom call and not believe that it would actually catch up to them. That's all I'm saying on that situation. That is all I'm saying on that situation, because that was just straight crazy. Talking about bias, let's get back to this whole idea of the bias and the slant and everything like that. Did you recognize that, in the last, I think they said that in the last, how many days has this been? They said, have you heard any Biden jokes recently? Biased late night shows told 97% of their gags about Trump in September and almost none about the Democrat candidate. They said Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel have almost ignored Joe Biden in their jokes. The pair in September devoted 97% of their wisecracks to the president. Researchers at George Mason University recorded 455 jokes about Trump in the same time period, and only 14 jokes were made about Biden by the pair. Republicans are usually more mocked, but Democrats have got off very lightly. As you sit here and you watch this bias, and it's honestly, really, are you surprised? Are you surprised? The collusion that takes place that removes any form of honesty is what's so disingenuous to their platform of being moral police, thought police, and people who want equality. I mean, if you want equality, it would be literally 50-50. It would be 50% Trump, 50% Biden. But of course, we know it's not going to work that particular way, because that actually would require journalistic and comedic integrity. But maybe integrity is not something that's required in being a comedian, because of the fact that your goal is to just make everybody laugh, and you dance, boy, dance. Very sad and very unfortunate as you sit here and you watch this bias. Of course, it's going to be there. And then you sit here and you wonder why it is that most kids, most individuals are so slanted against the president of the United States of America. It's like, you've been programmed to be that way. If 98% of your intake on the day is negativity about the president of the United States of America, if you actually walk away and still have an appreciation for who he is, and you may not even be a Trump supporter, but the tilt, the leaning, again, the BBC stuff that I shared yesterday, they are angry with the QAnon. The BBC wants them shut down because of the fact that QAnon is ruining their their what's the word about it? Their real estate and their monopoly on the truth. Liberal media, the liberal media networks are freaking out because their ratings are down because no one wants to pay attention to them anymore. Sooner or later, people walk away when you're tired of being lied to. Sooner or later, people just basically say, I'm done. There's nothing more I have. There's nothing more I'm going to do and put myself through if you have no desire to show any kind of integrity in this thing called life and news and so much more. Here's another one where you want to sit here and talk about the idea, again, with all the overwhelming information, all the overwhelming information that you see here. So now we have a censorship once again. Facebook suspends account of Ukrainian lawmaker and Rudy Giuliani associate who made claims about a second laptop linked to Hunter Biden. Basically, Andriy Dirkok posted to Facebook on Friday to say that there is a second laptop. And in the post, Dirkok says that the laptop was given to the Ukrainian law enforcement. And I understand this. And you guys are saying, well, where's the collusion? We've got it for you here and right now. There's no way around it. There is no way that you can sit here and ignore the truth and reality of what's happening here. So much data, so much information. But people are like, I don't see anything. Hear no evil, say no evil, and see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. That is prohibited against a Democrat candidate. It is prohibited against a progressive. That is prohibited in many ways more than you can ever imagine. And it's rather unfortunate. It is rather unfortunate. Well, maybe the problem is you just don't know how to process the data because of the fact that you have just been beaten up and beaten down for far too long. You know what? Have you heard of a New Life Holistic?
Does your mind seem like it often shuts down before it even starts? Sounds like you need to detox to improve your health in body, mind, and spirit. I'd like to tell you about New Life Holistic. It is an amazing therapy process that uses neurofeedback and biofeedback for many issues that ails everyone. New Life's method and approach to health, balance, energy, and vitality is what sets it apart from anything you have experienced ever before. Call 1-833-4-BIO-LIFE and tell them Watson from Battle4Freedom had sent you. One more thing. Give them the code MOJO50 and save $50 off of your first session. The consult is free. New Life Holistic.
And not only New Life Holistic, I want to give you another sponsor. And the only reason why I do this is because of the fact that when coming back from the break, I want to talk about the shift. I want to talk about the strange shift and trend that's taking place that the media is afraid to talk about, the leftists are afraid to talk about, Democrats are afraid to talk about. But there's a trend that's like, remember, at one point it was a tilt this way. When we come back from the break, we'll talk about the tilt that's going that way. But before we get there and talk about the level of censorship that's going on, because honestly, let's go back to this for a second here. Not only is the individuals, whether it's Giuliani or it's people from Ukraine, it's more and more people who have data. So from Twitter and Facebook, they're shutting down any kind of communication that's showing the pertinent information that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are both guilty. That Joe Biden lied every time he said, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was happening here. Now, here's one of the things that you have to understand here. I'm thinking, let's not push so hard for Joe Biden to be removed before the election. Let's let the election come through. Let's let Donald Trump win. And then once that's all said and done, then go through the proceedings, because of the fact that, I don't want any last second changes that are being made that all of a sudden, now mind you, we've had millions of votes that are already been cast for Joe Biden and possibly. And I just don't think that it would be good for us to force the hand of Attorney General Barr to prosecute Biden before the election. I don't believe that that's going to work. Actually, I believe that's going to backfire if the president tilts or leans too much on the Attorney General to prevent him from doing his job. And look at that. It's time for me to go to break. So let's do this. When we get back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about the tilts, the strong tilt in pinging American reality. I'm your host, Watson Pretty from Battle4Freedom. Talk to you on the flip side.
This election will be vital to the health and sustainability of our country. Our role from this day on could steer the election in either direction. Why? The way we treat one another. In John 13:35, Jesus says, "By this all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." We know that every election cycle brings out the worst in us. If there was ever a point for honesty, it is in how we act during election season. As much as we would want our candidate to win, attacking a person with contrary opinions only makes them determined to reject our point of view all the more. It may come off as ignorant from them, but we cannot claim innocence if we allow arrogance and disrespect to be the means in which we communicate with those who support the other party or other candidates. Our goal was and will never be to convert voters. Our role is to give them the information needed prior to them casting their vote. It is their choice and right of what they do with that information. Understand, more people are aware of the political corruption and hypocrisy than they wish or want to admit. So there's nothing for us to prove. Choose to be people who invoke change rather than people who irritate and strain. Dale Carnegie once wrote, "A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." In other words, give people the room to make their own mistakes. Without seeing that they were wrong, they would be blind to see what is right. Remember, every soldier present and gone have fought for the right of every American citizen to vote their own conscience. To insult and ridicule people for exercising their liberty to vote for their candidate is to also desecrate the efforts, memories, and sacrifices made by our heroes for said liberty. Please, show respect. Our nation depends on it.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Watson Prenier from Battle4Freedom on Mojo 50 Radio. My website, Battle4Freedom.com. You can catch me there. Just learn a little bit more about me and have fun. So I'm cracking up at some of the comments that are on here. Raquel Lee says, okay, those of you, I need an intern. If you want me to see the comments that are on YouTube or even there's a billion comments that's on Twitter as well too. Do not think that I'm forgetting you or ignoring you. It's just there's so much going on at the same time. But something she said that I don't want to miss this earlier. She says, if it wasn't for Rush, there would be no Mojo 50. Yeah. Yeah. He inspired so many other different people. Another one I want to cover on this one. This is by Mitchell. He says, we need as conservatives to push more towards taking over many social programs in America. We should be fighting abortion by creating alternatives to abortion. We should be creating schools in our churches to pull away from the public school system. We should be creating homeless shelters connected to the hospitals. You assist those in need. Correct. You know what? I believe that there are a lot of schools that are being erected in churches. The only problem with that is, unfortunately, many churches, it's not the dynamics of the faith that affects or governs what's happening in the schools. Many of those churches, many of those schools that are inside the churches take on the personalities of the church leaders. And unfortunately, that also comes in with many of the flaws that might be present in the lives of those leaders. Favoritism takes over when it comes to watching what's taking place in these schools, where people and kids need to be exposed to the love of Jesus and the reality of Jesus, the reality of their sin in their lives. But the politics of life normally get in the way and prevent the proper discernment and moral consistency or biblical consistency in the lives of the teachers and faculties of these institutions. Believe homeless shelters are a great idea. If anything, I struggle with the word social programs only from this perspective, is because of the fact that 10 to 1 social programs tend to lean towards the left, and it leans towards the good efforts And unfortunately, those humanistic efforts and usually fail and fail short if they are not built upon the structure of biblical foundations, biblical truths, and non-compromising biblical truths. Because the moment that people start swaying and tilting this way or tilting that way, unfortunately, they neglect the fundamental structure that we have in the Word of God, in the Bible, and the truth of God. And I believe it's great when people can show kindness, when people can do that of their own volition. That's great. But often, sometimes too, you see too many pattings on the back and on the shoulders of what endeavors that someone has done to contribute to things moving better in their community. And we need to see this be just a little bit different, or just have a different approach when we're doing this. So I love this. And Brian, tell your son I appreciate him liking my hat. So this whole idea of the censorship, the tilts, and everything like that. So in 2 days we have the next debates, and honestly, I'm not feeling comfortable about it because of the fact that I know that this is not going to go well. Trump is objects to the unfair mute button during final debate with Biden, but says he will take part of the pledge, and he pledges to grill the Democrat candidate on Hunter Biden emails, even if the totally biased moderator does not. And see, the thing about it is you sit there and you find out about this moderator. If I'm correct, this moderator was busted on getting questions to Hillary Clinton in the 2016 debate process. So we know this is going to be biased. We know that this is going to take place, and she says that nice smirk she almost has like that Kamala Harris smirk on her face, and we know this is going to be nothing but a disaster. But people are going to clamor, Joe Biden did so well. Oh, hooray, every time they hit the mute button on Donald Trump. Because you know what, this is, okay, so let me tell you how this is going to happen. And just like you thought it was really bad with Savannah Guthrie, let me tell you how this is going to happen. She's going to turn around. She's going to ask a question. Donald Trump is going to basically say, no, I'm not answering that question. I'm actually going to comment on something that you let pass. No, Mr. President, answer my question or I'll continue muting you until you decide to answer my question the way that was presented to you. And if you refuse to answer the question, Mr. President of the United States of America, I will not give you an audio to speak. And this is how it's going to unfold. The president's going to be cornered into what he's supposed to say. Women's power and women's lib will be celebrating and jeering and backflipping because of the fact that they have put the president in his place. Not the function of a moderator, not the respect and conduct of a proper moderator, but this is the behavior that we should be prepared for because it will only get worse. Talking about tilting, here's a blow to the president. SCOTUS denies GOP bid to block extended period for counting ballots in crucial swing state of Pennsylvania after Chief Justice Roberts sides with the court's 3 liberals. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? And those of you who are looking on Facebook, you need to look at that picture again and recognize that there are 2 pictures of Ruth Bader Ginsburg in the 9. Because of the fact that though she is not there, Roberts is basically Ginsburg. Roberts is he is a shame and he's a sham. But it is his decision to make whatever he felt as a Supreme Court justice, if he wants to side with the liberals. And this is the reason why they're freaking out that Amy Coney Barrett will be confirmed in 2 days. This is going to be the longest, I'm not going to lie to you, before we get to the debate on Thursday night, this will be the longest 48 hours in the history of this presidency. This will be disgusting. This will be insane because every last one of us will be on needles and pins and needles because of the fact that we are worried that, 1, we want to make sure that Amy Coney Barrett, nothing happens to her, and 2, all the Senate officials and the Republicans who will be voting to confirm her will be alive and nothing will happen to them. Honestly, I was a little bit concerned when Dianne Feinstein had shaken the hands of Lindsey Graham last week, because I wanted to make sure that she didn't have a COVID-infected hand to try and take him out so he wouldn't be present for the voting this week. But we're not surprised that Roberts would do this. It's rather unfortunate. He is not a conservative, and he has screwed conservatives at every chance that you can imagine. But see, here's one of the things about this, though, is we can't be surprised about Roberts. And you know what? At the end of the day, all we can do is pray that he will change his disposition. We can only pray that he will get common sense, because the fact that once everything turns 6-3 or even 5-4, it doesn't matter what Roberts does at this moment after Barrett is confirmed. And honestly, to tell you the truth, hopefully the likes of the Breyer and even Roberts, hopefully maybe the two of them would be replaced once the president's reelected. Hopefully before 2024, the president will actually not only have this vote, but he'll actually have at least 3 more opportunities to pack the court. to pack the court, to fill, not pack the court, fill the court according to his own desire, and go from there. But yeah, Roberts, thank you very much for just proving to us exactly who you are. Did I put that in there? Yeah. I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm going to get into this whole new trend that's going on here. So in New York, one of the things that's very interesting is people are getting really tired. People are getting really annoyed with the sound of backfiring. A plague of insanely loud modified cars and bikes are keeping New Yorkers awake at night as beleaguered city reels from a year of COVID and unrest amid NYPD budget cutbacks. Residents have launched loud noise complaints about loud cars and motorcycles congregating in New York City. They basically said that there's an uptick of such complaints called the engine idling this year compared to last year. The noises come from car enthusiasts using straight pipes, which one of the things is does loudens the engine sound. And residents suggest that the New York Police Department has been indifferent. The NYPD. Wait, hold on a second. You basically throw the police officers underneath the bus, and they're basically giving you what you want. They're giving you what you desire. Every time you choose to elect Democrat leadership who basically throws law enforcement underneath the bus, we're going to get tired. They're going to basically say, I'm done. I'm not taking this anymore. This is ridiculous. Why should I even continue to do this? I'm so grateful for every police officer who continues to put on their uniform and do what's needed. Those of you, if you haven't seen my video, I posted this on Saturday. I got pulled over on Saturday, driving through an affluent neighborhood, about to go through another affluent neighborhood. I was in the left turning lane, and I was trying to signal for my mother-in-law to basically follow me, but the light was changing. I get into the right lane. I started driving. I signal into the right lane, and I start going through. My wife was like, the light was red. I'm like, no, it was yellow. And what happened was the cop started turning left, and I started going straight. And all of a sudden, whoop, whoop, and you hear the noise, the blurp, and the lights go on, and I'm pulled over. So come to find out, I'm like, okay, whatever. Let's just deal with this. I got my license out. I asked my wife for the registration and insurance, and couldn't find the insurance at the time, but we get the first 2 to him, and then we're wrestling to find the insurance. We finally get it, and I hand it to him, and I said, dude, sorry about the light. My wife says it was red. He said, no, I didn't get you on that. I got you on the last second lane change. So, come to find out, at the end of the day, I was respectful to him. He was respectful to me. He comes back, and he just gives me a warning. No bullet holes, nothing. I survived the encounter. I survived the encounter because both of us had a desire. We're going to do our jobs, provide for our families, and try and keep everybody safe. And we also want to go home. So I survived that. And I believe that so many more can survive it if they would just humble themselves and get rid of their attitude. I wasn't pulled over because I was black. I was pulled over because I committed a moving infraction. I got a warning. I was let off with a warning. And he just said, be safe, drive safely, and that's it. It's not that difficult. But you know what? When you make their lives miserable, when you do things that you're not supposed to, trust me, it will affect you negatively. And yes, Linda, respect goes a long way. So thank you, Zionsville PD, and thank you, IMPD, and just every last officer who's out there. We really appreciate you and understand that we're not part of the crazy group of people who want you gone. It's only the criminals who want your presence removed, and it's rather unfortunate. So let's get into this big trend that's going on right now. With all the negativity that goes on in the news, with all the negativity that's taking place, there's a surprising trend, and I'm so glad and grateful for my friend D who posted this earlier. There's a trend where you're starting to see Democrats for Trump, farmers for Trump, and the idea of Trump 2020 taking place and just finding itself in the most remote areas and places. So the tilt that's been so anti-Trump, the tilt from the media that has been so common sense for so long is starting to sway. The needle is starting to move directions. And the reason being is that I believe that many people, like the people who are tired in New York about, and the one thing back on the New York thing that I thought was really interesting, because me growing up, I remember, just even driving, you had not just your registration and insurance and all that stuff, but you also had to have an inspection done on your vehicle. And so I grew up in communities where there were noise ordinances. I don't know if you remember Footloose from back in 1984, where there was like noise ordinances. You couldn't drive around with your music so loud. Well, I lived in communities where you couldn't play your music so loud. I lived in communities where you couldn't intentionally have a vehicle that was so loud that, because I had a couple where the mufflers were really bad and it made so much noise. It was completely unbearable driving those vehicles. So how is that possible? I don't know. It's really crazy. But I think, again, let's get back to this whole idea of this trend. Trump is trending. Trump is trending. And this is very interesting because of the fact that, and it's happening in a way that that the media can't control. It's happening in a way, I'm watching people that did not like Trump. They're now pro-Trump. I'm watching people who did not care for this president whatsoever. And they now are pushing some strong support behind him. There's a trend, and it cannot be denied. People are tired of being victims. They're tired of the criminal activity. They're tired of seeing their communities be laid waste with zero rebuke from the Democrat leadership. And Trump is trending. So much so, let's get into this new one here. Because you remember last week I talked to you about Ice Cube and his role. I don't care. Trump doesn't like black people. 50 Cent endorses president after rejecting Joe Biden's 60% plus 60% plus tax plans for anyone earning over $400K in some states. Now it's interesting because rapper 50 Cent, here is another rapper who did not like the president of the United States of America. But once they start seeing what the Democrats have to offer, they're like, no, thank you. I'm sitting here like, Fitty, we've been trying to tell you this for a long time. But look at this. New York and California, cities and states worst hit by COVID-19. People are fleeing these cities, and they have the nerve to charge so much tax. This is what Biden's bringing, folks. And we've been telling you higher taxes. He says, we're not going to give you higher taxes. Well, you know what? People like Fitty and so many more, now that they have their money, they want to keep their money. Just like every other American citizen who has their money, they want to keep their money. And there's an awakening taking place. And I'm not going to lie to you. I believe that there are going to be many more Trump supporters who are of this complexion than you really want to accept and appreciate. This is going to be probably one of the most Probably could be one of the most insane elections in our history. Yes, Raquel. She said, Raquel Lee. You can hear her in room 13. She says, I see that Ice Cube and 50 Cent are being lambasted by the tolerant, loving crowd because they have the nerve to talk favorably for Trump. Yeah, well, let's go into some of the things that they showed here, because one of these guys, basically David Leavitt, he should have just left his comments to himself. 50 Cent can go blank himself for choosing his personal wealth over the health of the nation. What a selfish piece of blank. and of course, 50 Trump. They said it comes at 50 Cent. They're calling him 50 Trump. Now, mind you, this is what I love. This is what I got to go back to. I got to go back to what Raquel Lee said. Raquel has said, he lambasted by the tolerant, loving crowd. Okay? It's very interesting where you now are wrong for wanting to keep more money. Yes. What we've been wanting, what conservatives have been wanting for I don't know how long, and it doesn't matter. See, now that they're recognizing socialism is not good, socialism is bad, and they can see that, you know what, y'all sitting here, and I understand this with Kanye, with 50 Cent. One of the things that they're seeing here is Nancy Pelosi is getting her hair did when no one else could. Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein are running around without masks when everybody else is supposed to. They're watching these Democrats do and live high on the hog, and they're basically allowing the rest of everybody else to be miserable and assume that they should assume the position of being ruled with an iron fist, and not by the hand of Donald Trump, but by the Democrat Party. And people are waking up. People are waking up. Thank you, Fitty. And I bet you there's going to be a few more people who are going to be speaking up as a result of this. Trust me. Understand, he's not going to be the only one. Let's get into another thing here that I thought was very interesting. I'm running out of time on this one, so let me get into this quickly here. Kirstie Alley.
Award-winning actress Kirstie Alley is facing intense backlash tonight from the left after she announced her support for President Trump. Joining us now to explain is actress Kirstie Alley. Well, you should rot in hell. You don't have a brain. They've attacked your deeply held and personal religious beliefs. Why? Why do you think it's that vicious?
They always attack the same three things. That, I'm a fat, irrelevant Scientologist. So, but this has been going on for 40 years. So I'm sort of prepared. That really is basically all they have to offer. So I honestly don't take it too personally, because I feel that people are angry and they have the right to say what they want to say. And I have the right to block them if I don't like the way they speak. And why did it happen? It's funny because I've been talking about Trump now for several months. And the other night I put out a tweet that simply said that I voted for him the first time and this time because he's not a politician. So then I got all this flood, I think thousands and thousands going, do you know the definition of politician? Do you know what a politician is? Do you know what a And I do. And I know they know what I meant. And what I meant was that he's not a career politician. And, we have a history in this country of people, not as much currently, but of people of different occupations like farmers and tailors and oilmen and businessmen and generals coming in and servicing our country as the president of the United States. And even many of them, when they left, they went back to their other job. So I like that Trump has a lot of energy. I like that he has more energy than any human being I've actually ever seen. And I think that the big thing that I was mentioning in that tweet was that I'm really tired of career politicians. I'm tired of paying people to do nothing and take way too long to do it. And I feel like this is what I would do to solve this, Sean. They should have a base salary, and then they should be paid if they have any accomplishments. Like, they should have a base salary, and for every accomplishment,
don't
they
hold your
get
breath.
a performance bonus, kind of like a hooker.
You know, and it's really sad when you sit here and you think about what happened here. As you listen, you watch. Okay, has Kirstie Alley put on some weight? Yes, she has. But we have Victoria's Secret now introducing and embracing plus models. We got to the point where bigger is beautiful, bigger is better. But bigger is not better if you don't say what we want you to say. This is a thing that's really sad because, again, here it is that you have women who are speaking up, speaking their minds. Like, I want my girls to be able to say what, to speak and speak with force and confidence, to express themselves. And I don't want any man, I don't want any woman, I don't want any individual or institution or organization trying to shut them down because they don't say what they want to hear. What they don't repeat, or they don't regurgitate what they've been programmed or pressured to say. It's very unfortunate. It's very heartbreaking, but not surprising that they would go so far as to start fat shaming Kirstie Alley, because that kind of behavior, that kind of thing is not permitted. Let me get away from this stuff because I'm starting to feel my blood rise. And let's get into the attitude of gratitude. I've got some time left on this thing here. I want you to email me your story at b4faog@gmail.com. This is where I get a chance to share something good, something great, and something. I had this experience last week as I was painfully making my way through the Barrett hearings. And I have to thank Joni Ernst for this, and I'm grateful for what she says. Because this is powerful. Take a listen to this. This is a summary. If I can summarize last week, if I can summarize the hearings, it was in this powerful but critical moment because it speaks of strong, free women in ways you can never understand. Take a listen.
And Judge Barrett, obviously over the past number of weeks since you were nominated and certainly since this hearing began, there's been a lot of discussion about the legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was really a trailblazer. The Democrats seem to claim that you wouldn't be an adequate replacement for Justice Ginsburg because you do not march in lockstep with her judicial philosophy. The way I see it, you're both trailblazers and you're both accomplished professors. You were both respected and revered and had strong endorsements, both from the left and the right. And you're both amazing working moms. You both served in private practice. And like you, she was a woman of strong religious faith. And you both have a very impressive track record on the judicial bench. So asking women to march in lockstep with one philosophy is exactly the wrong kind of message we should be sending to women, and especially to young women. What I hear so often from the left, many of us on the right do, I would say probably Senator Blackburn hears this, many others hear this, that because we don't hold the same views that those on the left do, we shouldn't be serving in the roles that we are in. And that's what the left is projecting on you, is because you are not lockstep with what they want to see in their nominees, that you aren't worthy of serving on the bench. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And that shouldn't be the litmus test for the Supreme Court. And frankly, it shouldn't be the litmus test for any woman in any job. Any woman in any job. Diversity of thought and an ability to pursue her dreams is exactly what the women trailblazers of the past fought for. If the suffragettes hadn't been willing to go against the men of their time, certainly none of the women sitting on this dais would have the opportunity to question you today.
I tell you, that was beautiful. And honestly, it almost made me cry. when I watched that, because after being emotionally beaten down with the negativity and the spitefulness and the condescension from the Democrats, Hirono was horrific. Cory Booker constantly pulling out the race card and calling Barrett a racist. Horrific. What is it? White House with his conspiracy theory and all these other different things. It was a nightmare. And this is how she buttons up that whole nightmare, that whole travesty that took place. And I loved how Joni Ernst did this, because it was the right thing to do. It was the best thing to do, because in her words, she said to Amy Coney Barrett, "You are a strong, successful woman, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise." I think there's many more of you who need to hear that message. You'll probably hear something like that on the next show, which is the Daily Mojo with Brad Staggs and Randolph the Gray. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom. I really appreciate all of you for your feedback. I'm going to tune out for now, and I'll catch up with you